She raised her glass and said she was selling the house for her new boyfriend's kids. So he handed her an envelope that turned her world upside down. What she didn't know, he'd already started planning the ultimate revenge months ago. The carved turkey glistened under the dining room chandelier, its golden skin crackling beneath the knife in Adam Cole's steady hands. Aromas of sage and butter filled the air, mingling with the sounds of silverware, soft jazz, and the laughter of family gathering for their annual Thanksgiving tradition. It was supposed to be a perfect night. Adam had spent days preparing. He'd flown their son, Daniel, in from Seattle. Their daughter, Melissa, and her fiancé, Connor, had arrived that morning for Boston. The fireplace flickered, a curated playlist hummed in the background, and the table gleamed with his late mother's china. And yet, something in the air felt wrong. Caitlyn, his wife of 32 years, sat at the far end of the table, wine glass in hand, posture too straight, smile too rehearsed. Her long burgundy nails tapped lightly against the crystal stem, the sound sharp enough to cut the silence that was about to fall like an avalanche. Then she did it. She raised her glass, as if preparing to offer a toast. "I've got news," she announced, her tone casual, syrupy sweet. "I'm selling the house." The fork in Adam's hand froze, a half slice of turkey slipping from its grip. He didn't move, didn't breathe. She continued, unbothered, eyes bright. "Derek's kids need more room. We've been talking about the future, and this place, it's too full of old memories. It's time for something new." Derek. The name hung in the air like poison. Daniel blinked in confusion. Melissa tilted her head, tried to figure out if this was some kind of bad joke. Connor stopped mid-sip, his eyes flicking to Adam. No one laughed. Caitlyn smiled as if she hadn't just detonated a grenade in the center of the dining table. "It's not personal," she added with a soft chuckle. "It's just life." Adam stood slowly, his chair sliding back with a deliberate scrape. He reached for the leather folder resting beside his seat, a folder she hadn't even noticed. He walked around the table, his footsteps the only sound in the room. Then he placed the envelope directly in front of her wine glass. "For you," he said quietly, his voice level, calm, controlled. Caitlyn raised an eyebrow, clearly confused. She peeled the flap back, then unfolded the first page. As her eyes darted across the document, her face drained of color. Her jaw tightened. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no words came. Adam remained standing, watching her absorb it line by line. "This letter serves as formal notification of divorce proceedings, filed on October 2nd, on the grounds of infidelity. Supporting evidence includes photographic records, text messages, and travel logs, indexed accordingly in the enclosed binder." Her hand trembled as she flipped to the second page. Then the third. "Ew," she started, her voice strangled. "You spied on me." Adam exhaled slowly, then said evenly, "You left your phone unlocked one morning. I didn't go looking. I just saw what was already there." Daniel leaned forward, stunned. Melissa covered her mouth. Caitlyn's face contorted. "You're divorcing me over one mistake?" "One." Adam's voice cracked, just barely. "I read 12 months of messages." "That's not a mistake, Caitlyn. That's a relationship." The wine glass wobbled. She caught it just before it tipped. "You're overreacting. This is all happening too fast." Adam's voice dropped to a chilling calm. "I've been preparing this for nearly a year." The color drained from her face. "Since you're moving in with Derek," Adam added, "I've had your belongings professionally packed. The movers already dropped them at the address you used when you logged into my cloud storage by accident. Your new boyfriend's home." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was suffocating. Melissa finally spoke, her voice sharp. "Is this why you missed Mom's birthday last year? Why you skipped out on Dad's retirement dinner?" Caitlyn's mouth opened, but no words came. Daniel stood up, chair screeching behind him. "So, Derek's your new chapter. Was any of this even real, Mom?" The turkey on Adam's plate sat untouched, now lukewarm. He slowly returned to his chair, picked up his fork, looked his wife in the eye. The turkey's better cold anyway. Long before the Thanksgiving bombshell, before Derek's name ever danced across her lips, Adam Cole had begun noticing the subtle shift. It started small, invisible to anyone else. But in a marriage that had weathered 3 decades, Adam had learned to read between the lines. Caitlyn stopped texting during the day. Not entirely. but the tone changed. Shorter replies. No warmth. No punctuation. Okay became the default. The morning kisses turned into air pecks. She stopped turning to face him in bed. The space between them at night felt colder than the winter storms outside their Chicago townhouse. Adam was a man of habit. He noticed when her perfume changed. Once a soft vanilla, now sharper, something more exotic. He noticed the gym bag by the door, even though she never talked about working out. And when she laughed at her phone screen late at night, it was a laugh he hadn't heard in years. Giddy, reckless, young. The real moment came 6 months before Thanksgiving. He had just returned early from a business meeting and decided to surprise her with her favorite almond croissants from that overpriced French bakery downtown. As he entered the house, he heard her voice from upstairs. Laughing. Playful. But not with him. He paused in the hallway, every instinct screaming not to eavesdrop. But then, I miss you too. You're bad, she whispered, followed by a giggle that punched him in the gut. Adam didn't go upstairs. He didn't confront her. He walked back out and sat in the car until his knuckles stopped shaking. That night, he slept on the couch. Told her his back hurt. She didn't ask why. Their marriage hadn't always been this cold. There had been love. Real love. He still remembered the way she used to paint little hearts and steam on the bathroom mirror. The way she left handwritten notes in his lunch when he worked long hours in real estate. Can't wait to dance with you tonight. Don't be late. She was a firecracker in her 20s. Funny, flirty, ambitious. He adored her for it. They met in college. She studied psychology. He was all numbers and logic. Somehow it worked. They'd been through 3 job losses, 2 miscarriages, and 1 foreclosure. And still they stood. Until they didn't. When the kids left for college, the silence grew louder. Caitlyn had more time. She got her real estate license, and for a while, Adam was proud. She was good. Sold homes with confidence. But soon, open houses turned into evening client drinks. Then weekend conferences. Then overnights. She started coming home late smelling like mint gum and Chanel No. 5. But the worst part wasn't the smell. It was the detachment. She stopped asking about his day. Stopped caring whether he came home early or late. One evening, he brought up a vacation to Maine they had planned years ago. She waved it off like it was a childish fantasy. Maybe next year, she'd said, eyes already back on her phone. He didn't argue. Instead, Adam started paying attention. It was a Tuesday morning when the affair was confirmed, not by a detective, but by her own carelessness. He brought her coffee in bed, something he hadn't done in a while. The sun poured through the blinds. She was still half asleep, her phone resting on the comforter beside her. And there it was. A message from someone saved as D. Can't stop thinking about last night. When can I taste you again? Adam stared at the message until the screen dimmed, and the light on his phone reflected back the quiet man he'd become. He didn't wake her. He didn't throw the coffee. He just turned around, went downstairs, and sat in the dark kitchen for 2 hours. Thinking. Not of leaving. Not of screaming. But of reclaiming himself. He called his lawyer that afternoon. Adam learned that despite the years, he still had leverage. The house. Purchased before the marriage. Only her name had been added later. His lawyer assured him it would be easy to reverse. Their joint savings? Legally transferable, if done strategically. The retirement funds? He restructured them under a personal trust. Caitlyn had no clue. And most critically, their prenup, signed 3 decades ago in their 20s, had one ironclad clause. Infidelity voids spousal benefits. She had forgotten it even existed. Adam hadn't. For the next several months, he played the role of the clueless, tired husband. He asked no questions. He offered no suspicion. She believed he was disconnected, safe. But all along, he was collecting. Quietly. Legally. Ruthlessly. Every text she forgot to delete. Every hotel receipt that popped up in their shared bank account. Every calendar entry where yoga was a cover for Derek. He printed it all. Labeled it. Cataloged it in a black binder. There was even a voice recording. Just one. Where she told Derek she was going to ditch the house soon. Sell it before Adam gets too suspicious. He held on to that file like it was currency. The week before Thanksgiving, she asked him if they could host this year. Said she wanted the family to gather one more time, while things were still normal. Adam knew what that meant. She was going to drop the bomb during dinner. Announce her new life. Her fresh start. Paint herself the victim of a tired marriage. She had no idea that he was ready. No idea that while she was planning to reinvent herself, he was planning to end the performance, on her stage, in front of her audience, with no intermission. Caitlyn didn't sleep that night. Not in their bed. Not in the guest room. Not even on the couch she once bragged about importing from Italy. She sat curled at the edge of the staircase long after the kids had gone upstairs, her fingers gripping the envelope like it could be undone by pressure alone. But the damage was done. Adam, however, slept like he hadn't in months. Not because he was happy. It wasn't happiness he felt. It was clarity. Peace. There was no more pretending. No more swallowing disappointment or smiling through betrayal. He had finally spoken the truth. And he had spoken it without shouting. That was his revenge. Clean. Surgical. By morning, Caitlyn was gone. Not by force. She simply walked out. No goodbyes. No eye contact. Just a text to Melissa that read, "Go to Derek's. Tell your father not to touch my things." Melissa never replied. The next day, Derek didn't open the door for her. She stood outside his gated condo with 3 mismatched suitcases and a leftover slice of pumpkin pie in a Tupperware container. She looked less like a woman reborn and more like a runaway, without a plan. He eventually came down, shirtless, annoyed, and visibly hungover. "I thought we agreed you'd wait till after the holiday weekend," he said, eyes darting up and down the hallway. "This isn't a good time." Caitlyn tried to smile, to make it light. "I figured we could just make it work. The house is basically sold. I'm free." Derek scratched his chin. "Free with what exactly?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean the house. The savings. You told me you were walking away with 7 figures in equity." Caitlyn stiffened. "Well, Adam blindsided me. He was planning this for months." Derek folded his arms. "So you have nothing?" The silence said everything. He didn't let her in. Over the next 48 hours, Caitlyn realized just how far the floor beneath her feet had disappeared. Her access to the joint account, blocked. Credit card, canceled. Even her phone plan had been under Adam's name, cut off. She called Melissa, straight to voicemail. She called Daniel. He answered. Once. "Mom, you lied to us." "For how long? Did you really think we wouldn't pick up on it?" "I didn't lie," she snapped. "I just didn't tell you everything. You cheated on Dad. You were planning to sell the house without even telling us. That was everything." The line went dead before she could answer. Adam didn't speak badly of her to the kids. Not once. He didn't have to. Instead, he started building something better. By the following week, the house felt different. Lighter. Calmer. He hired a local team to clean out the master bedroom and convert it into a study. Melissa offered to help repaint. Daniel brought over groceries and cooked him dinner for the first time in years. One night, Adam found an old shoebox in the attic filled with cards, anniversary notes, birthday letters, Polaroids of happier years. He sat with them for hours. He didn't cry. He didn't burn them either. He packed them back up and slid them under the bed. The past didn't need to be destroyed. It just didn't belong in his future. Meanwhile, Caitlyn had moved into a 2-bedroom rental on the west side, next to a freeway off-ramp and a closed-down diner. Derek had officially ghosted her, blocked her number, changed apartments, left without warning. The real estate firm she worked for had already heard whispers. One of her co-workers had attended the Thanksgiving dinner. Word traveled. The clients she once schmoozed started choosing other agents. She tried to file for alimony. Her lawyer laughed, gently. "Your prenup is airtight," he told her, "especially with the evidence your husband collected." She tried to fight it anyway, dragging the process out for months. Adam never flinched. Melissa visited her mother once. It wasn't to forgive her. It was to deliver a small box of kitchenware Caitlyn had left behind. But when she saw her mother's tiny apartment, cheap blinds, secondhand furniture, dishes stacked in a sink, she hesitated. "Why didn't you just tell us the truth?" she asked. Caitlyn, older than her makeup could hide, looked away. "Because I didn't think your father would fight back. I thought I could rewrite my story." Melissa looked at her for a long moment. "You did rewrite it," she finally said. "Just not the way you thought." Back at home, the holidays rolled in. Daniel brought his new girlfriend. Melissa and Connor announced a new wedding date. The house was full of warmth and noise, something it hadn't felt in years. Adam sat at the head of the table again. Same chair, same plates, same laughter. But when he looked at the space where Caitlyn used to sit, he didn't see betrayal anymore. He saw peace. And that was the real ending she never saw coming. Winter came fast in Chicago that year. The snow piled up along the sidewalks like nature itself was trying to cover the mess Caitlyn had made. The rental apartment she moved into had paper-thin walls and a heating unit that clanked all night like a dying furnace. She stopped posting on social media. There was nothing left to show. The new chapter she had promised herself with Derek never started. He was gone, vanished from her life like he'd never existed. His last message to her, sent just 2 days after she moved in, was short and cruel. Didn't sign up for baggage. Good luck. She stared at that text for hours. She didn't delete it. She just let it sit there. A digital scar. Word spread in their former circle. Caitlyn had once been the radiant hostess, always with the best wine and the loudest stories. She had organized neighborhood fundraisers, passed out business cards at yoga classes, and smiled her way into closings that earned 6 figures. Now, she walked into open houses with her shoulders hunched. Clients canceled. Her brokerage demoted her, citing client comfort concerns. Some whispered it was Adam's influence. It wasn't. He hadn't said a word. Truth didn't need a spokesperson. It simply lingered. One afternoon, she found herself sitting in her beat-up Toyota outside the old house. His house now. The blinds were open. Through the window, she saw Daniel laughing as he held a baby onesie. Melissa was crying and hugging him. Adam stood in the background, smiling softly, clapping one hand against his chest. She wasn't part of that memory. She wasn't even a shadow in the frame. Back inside, Adam was quietly rebuilding. But it wasn't just paint and furniture. It was himself. He started going on morning walks. At first, it was just to get air. Then, it became a habit. The same woman passed him every morning with her golden retriever. She wore a green beanie and waved politely. Eventually, she stopped. "Don't take this the wrong way," she said one morning, "but I see you walk alone a lot." Adam chuckled, working on making that less depressing. She smiled. "You're doing fine." Her name was Claire. Divorced for 6 years. 2 grown daughters. Taught part-time at a community college. She didn't flirt. She didn't push. She just listened. That was new for Adam, being heard without being judged. They got coffee, then lunch, then one snowy evening. After helping her shovel her driveway, they stood in silence under the porch light while snow fell around them. She reached for his hand. Nothing more. Just a hand. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel hollow. Caitlyn, meanwhile, tried to contact the kids again. She sent a long email to Melissa. "I know I hurt your father, but people make mistakes. I was lonely. He was always working. I needed someone." Melissa read it 3 times, then forwarded it to Daniel. He replied with one line. "Loneliness is no excuse for cruelty." By early spring, Caitlyn was barely hanging on. Her lease was up in 2 months, and her savings were nearly gone. She'd applied for a loan and was denied. Her name was on nothing. No house. No assets. No one left to bail her out. Then came the worst moment. She attended a networking gala, hoping to reconnect with old clients. She dressed in her best, heels worn down, dress 2 seasons outdated. She made her rounds, smiling like nothing had changed. Until she saw Adam. He hadn't planned to be there. A business partner invited him. He looked good, better than she remembered. Healthier, lighter. Claire stood next to him, in a navy coat with her arm casually hooked in his. Caitlyn froze. He didn't ignore her. That wasn't his style. He nodded. Once. Then turned back to the woman beside him with an ease Caitlyn couldn't fake if she tried. She tried to approach, but Claire leaned in and whispered something that made him laugh. Laugh. Not politely. Genuinely. Caitlyn left the gala without speaking a word. She cried in the car for 35 minutes, staring at her reflection in the rearview mirror like it was a stranger. That night, Adam opened an old drawer and found their wedding photo. They were kids, she in a lace dress with daffodils in her hand, him in an oversized tuxedo grinning like he'd won the world. He sat with it for a while, fingers tracing the corners of the faded frame. He didn't feel anger anymore, only distance. The kind of distance that comes not from time or space, but from survival, from the realization that sometimes love isn't stolen. It just ends. And when it does, all that matters is who you become next. It was mid-May when the letter came. Not an email, not a voicemail. A real letter, handwritten, folded into a pale blue envelope, tucked into Adam's mailbox between utility bills and lawn care flyers. No return address. But he knew the handwriting. He opened it slowly, the paper soft and shaky, the ink smudged slightly at the edges. I don't know how to say this without sounding small. Maybe I am small. Maybe I always was. I thought I was chasing freedom, but I was just running from who I used to be. You were good to me, better than I deserved. And I made it look like you were the one who fell short. But you didn't. You stood by me until I gave you nothing left to hold on to. I won't ask for a second chance. I've lost the right to ask for anything. But if you ever think of me, I hope you remember something good. Love, Caitlyn. Adam read it 3 times, then folded it carefully and set it down beside his coffee. He didn't cry. He didn't feel joy. Just an ache of something past. Like a song you once knew all the words to but no longer sing out loud. 2 weeks later, she showed up. He opened the door and found her standing there in a plain coat, hair tied back, hands clutching a small brown box. Her face was thinner, not broken, just worn. "Can I talk to you?" she asked softly. Adam stepped aside but didn't invite her in. They sat on the porch. The same porch where she used to drink white wine in the evenings, gossiping on the phone, bare feet propped on the railing. Now, she sat still, the wind blowing strands of hair into her eyes. "I brought this," she said, handing him a box. "It's just some old pictures. The kids' drawings. Stuff from when we were still us." Adam set it beside him. He didn't open it. "I'm not here to beg," she continued, her voice cracking. "I just wanted to face you once. To say I know what I did. I know what I threw away." He nodded once. "I know." She blinked, startled at the calm, at the absence of hate. "I didn't come to punish you, Caitlyn," he said gently. "I came to save myself." She looked away. "Do you hate me?" "No," he replied, after a moment. "But I don't love you either." The words didn't sting like poison. They cut like truth. And truth, sometimes, is the sharpest mercy of all. That night, she walked back to her car slowly. He didn't watch her drive away. He stood on the porch long after the engine faded down the street, until the sun disappeared behind the houses they used to pass holding hands. Then he picked up the box and walked inside. He didn't open it that night. Instead, he called Claire. She answered on the second ring. "Come over," he asked. She was there 20 minutes later, her coat still smelling of spring rain. They didn't talk about Caitlyn. She didn't ask, and he didn't offer. Some things didn't need to be reopened. By summer, the house had changed again. Daniel and Melissa helped plan New Garden. They took turns coming by with groceries, bringing their own children now, toddlers who giggled and ran barefoot across the lawn. Claire baked pies. The house was louder, messier, alive. One afternoon, while clearing the attic, Adam came across the envelope Caitlyn had opened at Thanksgiving, the one that shattered the illusion. He thought about throwing it away, but instead, he put in a file marked lessons. Not for bitterness, not for pride, just to remember, not how she broke him, but how he survived. That Thanksgiving, a full year later, Adam stood once again at the head of the table. He carved the turkey with the same knife. The table was full again. New faces, old laughter, familiar warmth. Claire reached for his hand under the table. He looked around, not searching for someone missing, but appreciating everyone who stayed. When he raised his glass this time, he didn't make a speech. He just smiled, and for the first time in years, it wasn't hiding anything.